Good morning. Here I am with a new installment of content, this time delving a little more deeply into battery connectors, resistance, the impact of adapters, and top of mind today is the use of Chinese sourced connectors that, when you do your homework, reveal that the implication of their markings and what their actual rated capacity is, and no big surprise that the Chinese manufacturers vastly exaggerate the current flow management capability of their connectors. And the one that stands far and away outside the parameters of these Chinese vendors is the USA-made Dean's Ultra Plug and its derivatives. I've been using these for well on 30 years, and it should be pointed out, I think most importantly, that pretenders from China with clearly different amounts of gold and silver coating on the connectors that can be purchased for 15, 20, 30, 50 cents a piece just do not stack up to the Dean's connectors made in California, I believe in California. And it comes down to some pretty simple things for me. And if I were to summarize and just get the executive summary out of the way, these are very capable of handling 80 amps continuous, according to Robin Dean, my unsolicited contact on my cell phone yesterday when I was posting questions to him. And that, XT connectors showing a 90, XT90, if you get into the specifications on their website, something I've not yet done but will, the actual power handling ability is significantly less than one might gather from reading that number 90. So when military vendors come beating their path to Robin for the use of their plug, that information gets my attention. I've struggled as I grow older with using the Dean's Ultra Plug for all the same reasons that you expect, including mixing the good ones with the cheap knockoffs. But I want to highlight that Robin is about to introduce a pretty high-spec lubricant for the connectors that enhances continuity, reduces resistance, but clearly puts me back into the category of a go-to client. I struggle sometimes with my soldering. I do a workman-like job, but 5 minutes download from Robin really put me on the track to doing a far better job. I need a wider spade on my soldering iron. 200 watts on 10 gauge wire and a wide spade will really give me different results. If I overdo it and don't have a thermostat on my soldering setup and I watch the flux go away in a puff of smoke, I need to spend some real adult dollars and get a USA-made soldering station where I can dial back the temperature into the 720, 740 range. I'm just throwing stuff out here off the top of my head based on my aged memory, but I was fascinated and quite frankly flattered to get the principal of a company on the cell phone while he tooled around picking up his children from after-school activities. And so shout out to Robin for your really candid but also really pleasant disposition on the phone. Horizon Hobbies is pretty committed to the EC5, and I think doing some homework about the fact that they come out of the same Chinese plant as these should give you an idea of the spec. Now, I think Horizon buys enough that they might insist on a certain thickness of gold plating on their connectors, and it is gold, by the way. But I want to encourage you geeks out there to go do some homework on the source vendor for these XTs. And if you're like me, you're probably going to be migrating more heavily to Dean's products. He's talking about releasing some plugs with better ability to be grabbed by old fingers. These drawers all back here are all my accumulation of stubs from packs that I've retired because I've, done those stupid human tricks with lipos. Maybe left it in a transmitter too long, maybe just aged it out. My solution to being able to pull Dean's Ultras apart is to add a zip tie, but what Robin's talking about is a 3D printed surround for the plug and a grip point. Now this one, the shrink wrap, when I put it on there, I put a little CA on there, and again, that gives me a shelf for my aged fingers with trigger thumb on my right hand, a better shot. Lubricating these spades and maybe incorporating some of these customizations that are late in coming, but Robin's on the ball doing it, I think are the reason to consider Dean's as a USA vendor for all your connectors. One other thing is that, when you get up into 5, 6, 7S packs, you get that spark, and you want to separate that out with 2 connections. And he suggested I use a bridged Dean for each polarity and have 2 plugs, and then thusly that discharge that can damage capacitors in speed controllers can be avoided. When you mash them together and get that pop on your big battery packs, that adds to the excitement, but also puts the load on your electronics that sometimes makes them go away with that special puff of blue smoke. Enough on that. I'm probably running long. If you have a drawer full of adapters, I'm going to try and do some follow-up homework with Robin's help and get into the specifications. But most importantly, for my 12-foot Telemaster, Robin encourages me to use his my MPI sourced arming plug from MPI up to 80 amps. And my packs for that plane, here's a 6S 5000 that I'm going to be using at 12S on that monster motor on my 12-foot Telemaster, but the XTs will go away. Conservatively, he puts these at a 45 amp real power handling capability, 10 gauge wire, takes some specialized soldering skills that I'm going to work on so I get it right. Enough for now. I'm Clay from the River City, really enjoying my RC hobby of late, particularly thanks to my pals in the Tri-State Modelers Club here in Dubuque. If anything, I'd encourage modelers out there who only build ours, who never tried a kit, who never done anything from a plan, step back. If you live in the northern climes and you need something to do in the winter, sure, there's indoor modeling, but building from plans, as I've started doing this year, as well as kit building, is an extraordinarily satisfying application for me. And in the future, I'm going to be using a far less diverse pile of connectors. Signing off.